Before the story begins, the game prompts you to name the main character and his family, a common trope among RPGs. In this game particularly, naming each character after family and friends can greatly strengthen your attachment to them. The game also asks you for your favorite food and your favorite thing, but for this analysis, I'm just going to use the default names. They go as follows. Lucas, the younger twin brother, a gentle boy. Klaus, the older twin brother, an energetic boy. Flint, the strong, kind, and dependable father. Hinawa, the beloved mother. Boney, the brave and smart dog. Favorite food? Omelets. Favorite thing? Love. After everybody is named, we are introduced to the world of Mother 3 in cinematic fashion. The camera pans over the land the story will take place in, called the Nowhere Islands. It has a highly diverse ecosystem, from dense forests to a desert and even a volcano. The core of the story happens in just one little town, Tasmili Village. The camera slows down once it reaches the home of Alec, the father of Hinawa, and grandfather of Lucas, the protagonist. This video series will mostly be a narrative analysis, but it'll also be a musical analysis. In Mother 3 especially, music greatly enhances the feeling of the game and heightens the emotion of the story itself. Shigesato Itoi's story wouldn't be the same without Shogo Sakai's soundtrack backing it, so I'll be analyzing the major songs in varying degrees of detail. The first big song of the game is simply called Welcome, and plays as the camera pans around the Nowhere Islands. It opens with a string orchestra and a grand introduction. It also hints at a major theme played throughout the soundtrack. It doesn't stay for too long though. The song quickly changes direction to bring in some more contemporary instruments. Powerful drums, an electric guitar, and a funky bass, along with a dramatic horn, hype you up for a big adventure. Yep, this is definitely an Earthbound game. Next, a music box comes in for a little call and response with the horns. The music box is a pretty unusual instrument to have in an energetic song like this, but that's what makes it stand out. It foreshadows the heartfelt tone of the story, and the horns portray the grandiosity of it all. The music box exits and the saxophone enters, leading the way to hype you up once again. But just as the song's about to reach its climax, everything mellows out when the game reaches Alec's home. A familiar Earthbound-like synth arpeggiates, lowering the loudness but rising in pitch to still keep the anticipation. The story will escalate to extremely high stakes, but for now, it humbly begins in a cozy cabin in the mountains. Lucas, how long are you gonna sleep? Get up so we can play! Get up already! The Dragos brought their babies over! They're really cute! Hurry up! Drum beats are replaced with door knocks, as Klaus urges Lucas to wake up. He's been sleeping in all morning. Having been so rudely awakened by his twin, Lucas jumps out of bed and starts another day at Grandpa Alec's log cabin. The song that plays in the cabin is very rustic and natural sounding, with a guitar happily strumming along to a conga beat. A flute, a woodwind, plays an upbeat melody. All is right with the world. When you, playing as Lucas, come downstairs, Hinawa is sitting at the dining table writing a letter. If you try to leave the house in your pajamas, she'll make you get dressed. This gives a tiny glimpse of how Hinawa cares for her boy, always knowing what's best for him. Lucas changes into his striped shirt, a popular choice among Earthbound protagonists, and slicks back his hair. Now, Lucas is ready to play. When you enter the great outdoors, the overwhelming sunshine forces Lucas to readjust his eyes. Alec is working outside, and he mentions that it's the last day everyone is staying over. Tonight, Lucas will be sleeping in his own bed. When you walk around the yard, you can peculiarly talk to his free-range animals. They make typical animal noises, but then they speak English in parentheses. They, along with every other character you've interacted with so far, mention that Lucas overslept. Because this is a video game, you aren't forced to interact with every character you see. Therefore, each one within the same scene usually portrays the same message, so that even if you just talk to one, you can get all the information the writer wanted you to know. In this context, it's that Lucas is Mr. Sleepyhead, as Hinawa puts it. If you choose to talk with Alec's two pigs, the first one says, "What the pig next to me says worries me." And then when you talk to the pig next to him, he says, "Don't worry about it." This instantly sets the tone for the rest of the game. First, the animals are talking, and second, they're making jokes. This is going to be a funny game. I appreciate humor in games, since a lot of them only have a serious side and don't make an effort to get you laughing. There's more fun to be had than just playing a game. Reading can be enjoyable too. The song that plays outside here is already one of the most iconic in the game. It begins much like Ness's hometown in Earthbound did, with a soft introduction preceded by a lone bass. Soon enough, some drums kick in. An acoustic guitar strums a couple times to fill an empty space, creating a warm and friendly atmosphere. Try to take a mental note of the melody here. You'll be hearing it a lot more in this game. It's pretty simple, and therefore memorable. The instrumentation for it also sounds a little childish, which is what Lucas is, so it's fitting. It's also worth noting that there are two separate basses playing simultaneously, with one going absolutely wild. Shogo Sakai loves this instrument. I like the synths that play for the second part of the melody. They're a little disorienting, which is how you would feel if you heard talking animals making jokes. At the end, we get an electric guitar. It represents how much fun this retreat has been for everyone. The arpeggio adds to the playfulness of it all. If I could rename this song, I would call it Sunny. When you go east, you'll find Klaus playing with the Dragos, huge reptilian creatures that look like T-Rexes or dragons, per the name. Though intimidating, Klaus has been ramming into them over and over since morning. He urges Lucas to give it a shot, and Alec explains how to do that. He tells you to try to imagine a thing called a B button. Itoi's decision to add the few extra words, "try to imagine," makes these instructions to the player so much more enjoyable to read. In most games, Alec would have looked at the screen directly and told the player to press the B button on your Game Boy Advance to run into the Drago. Instead, he talks to Lucas, the character you play as, compared to you, the player who controls Lucas. This breaks the immersion of the game as little as possible while still effectively teaching how to play the game. After these instructions, Lucas is still idly standing. Alec proceeds to say, "You'll never succeed with such a solemn look on your face. That holds true for anything. Just relax." I appreciate quotes like this in media. You might as well give some encouragement to whomever is experiencing your work. I think it's quite thoughtful. It also reveals a little more about Lucas's character. Adding to the fact that he slept in, a meek personality is painted. Nevertheless, Alec's encouraging words get through to him and he rams into the Drago. For a second, it doesn't look like the Drago felt a thing, but when it sees what Lucas is trying to do, it plays dead. Then, it jumps right back up like nothing happened, ready for the next blow. Despite looking like they could eat you in one gulp, these creatures are harmless. It looks like they might even be enjoying the twins' antics. If you choose to talk to Alec after hitting the Drago, he says rather bluntly, "You're a weakling now, but I just know that someday you'll be stronger than anyone else." Yet another trait of Lucas is revealed. He's a weakling. In video games, even in text-heavy RPGs like this, dialogue is quick and straightforward compared to other media. It is a game, after all, so in order to actually have time to play it, the dialogue is shortened, for better or for worse. I think the quickness of the dialogue makes it much more approachable for the average player. Throughout your time with it, Mother 3 sends you a message in the package of a game. While you usually play a game to have fun, Itoi also made this a game for you to reflect. It gives the game more meaning and value. After enough time passes, a tiny little mole cricket sees Lucas and Claus playing, and he wants to join in on the fun. This starts the first battle of the game. The song that plays during this battle is really weird, with all sorts of zany sounds playing. You are fighting a talking bug, so it makes sense. This is about as normal as the enemies get in this game, by the way. In most turn-based RPGs, there's usually only a small handful of songs that play against normal enemies, but for Mother 3, that couldn't be further from the truth. It feels like every enemy has their own song. It helps give them a stronger identity. On the topic of music in battles, every character has an instrument or a sound effect assigned to them for when they attack. It's used as a tool by Shogo Sakai to characterize everyone just a little bit more. Lucas's instrument is a clean steel guitar. Klaus's is an exotic sitar. The mole cricket is effortlessly defeated, but he insists it was evil. He leaves, not in surrender, but to train for their next big bout in the Mole Cricket Hole Stadium. He scurries off screen. Hinawa appears shortly after, mentioning she stepped on a bug. She tells the boys she made their favorite food, in this case it's omelets, and they race back to the cabin. Hinawa follows behind, and Alec is the last character left on screen. He checks to see if the coast is clear, before he has a secret conversation with you, the person playing the game. He tells you that if you want to save your progress, you have to talk to frogs. He gives no further explanation, and returns to character, hoping there's some omelets left for him. Again, this is a much more entertaining way to give a tutorial to the player. There's a frog near the cabin. When you talk to it, it says,
"A story is a series of memories. Memories are remembered with other memories, and in turn become memories themselves. If you don't take care to preserve your memories, you'll forget them. So, please tell us frogs your memories of everything so far." This is what people refer to as saving. Now then, save your game.
What a thoughtful little frog. At the risk of redundancy, again, this is a much more fun way to save your progress than to just open a menu with the press of a button. Frogs like this one are littered everywhere throughout the Nowhere Islands, and a lot of them can be found in some pretty amusing circumstances. What's your favorite food, Mom? Oh, omelets? Then your favorite food is the same as ours? We make a good match. As the family eats lunch, they discuss their departure from the cabin, with Hinawa mentioning that they'll have to go through the forest to get back home. Alec replies, "I bet the kids could make it there on their own, it's that safe. I bet even you could handle it, Lucas." Again, this is more not-so-subtle dialogue that the world is safe and that Lucas is a wimp. But even if he is one, there are hardly any consequences for it. After lunch, Hinawa sends a heartfelt letter via pigeon to her husband, Flint, about how their stay at the cabin was. The words of the message crawl up the screen. She mentions that she wished that he could have been there, and that they should get a neighbor to tend for the sheep next time. She adds that she'll make omelets for him right away when they return home in the evening. The song that plays for this scene is heartwarming, with a soft flute that covers the whole song in love. It starts out simple, with the flute alternating notes, but then it expands in scope with a sweeping string orchestra. Hinawa is currently all alone, just like the flute, but through the letter she is still connected with Flint, symbolized by the strings playing in harmony. They accomplished greater things together than they ever could on their own. Hinawa needs Flint, and Flint needs Hinawa. A few days separated makes their hearts tug for each other, but by nightfall they'll be reunited in Tasmeli. Hinawa releases the messenger pigeon and watches it as it flies away, but something else flying in the air catches her eye. A strange flying object casts an ominous shadow over the field. The heartwarming song is drowned out by something militaristic as it passes by. The screen fades to black, and the song from the object repeats itself in grand fashion. The game has only just begun. The title fades, and the game takes us to the forest at night. All is quiet until explosions erupt from the trees. Animals and townsfolk alike are panicking at the destruction before them. We see two men in pig-like uniforms, identities hidden from head to toe, throwing explosives about in the forest. One clumsily trips on the ground, and the other stumbles over him. Do they even know what they're doing? The forest is ablaze, and the animals are running for their lives. What is happening to Tazmily? Wasn't it always such a quaint little town? What's going to happen to Lucas and his family? Something is going horribly wrong, and the title of the first chapter hints at even worse to come. The Night of the Funeral.